All right, hello and welcome everyone. My name is Darren and I'm one of the marketing coordinators with the BCIT's School of Health Sciences. And it is my pleasure to welcome you to the School of Health Sciences information session for Prosthetics and Orthotics. I want to say how happy we are to see you all and thank you for attending our presentation today. Feel free to post your questions, comments, and thoughts into our chat during the presentation. And we will address as many questions as we can near the end of the presentation in the Q&A segment. If possible, you can keep your microphones and video off until the Q&A session near the end of the presentation. That would be much appreciated. And just before we get started, the British Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam. And tonight's agenda is welcome and introductions will be first. We're almost done that now. We're going to do a quick poll. Then we'll watch a prosthetics and orthotics video. Then we'll have the presentation and program overviews. And then we'll have some time with program advising. And at the end, we'll do a Q&A for all the questions anyone may have. So first off, I'll launch the poll and we can test everyone's brain power. Can everybody see it? Excellent. How many of you know someone who wears or has worn an artificial limb, foot orthotic, or a brace, knee, back, lower limb, etc.? Wow, that's really impressive. 100%. And I think the first thing we're going to do is watch a video.
Many people in our community require the use of prosthetic and orthotic treatment. A prosthetist provides treatment for patients with limb loss. This treatment includes the provision of an artificial limb, known as a prosthesis. An orthotist provides treatment for patients with physical impairments. This treatment includes the provision of an orthopedic brace, known as an orthosis. Both professions require patient assessments, fittings, and follow-up care as part of the treatment process.
I think an aspect of prosthetics orthotics that most people don't understand is that we're quite unique in the fact that we get to see a patient or a client from the very beginning of their treatment process, and you get to be influential and part of the rehab team right through to the end. The really neat thing is that you make lifelong relationships with these people, so those patients become your patients for life, and so you see them ongoing. Even once the rest of the rehab team is gone, you're still involved with their care long term. And in fact, most amputees in particular consider their prosthetist their primary health care provider, the ones that they find a really important part of their care. And orthotically speaking, I think we have a very unique approach to patient care, and that again we see the whole picture from start to finish. We have the ability to modify that treatment program, to make adjustments, to intervene and to make changes, and to go to the table with different types of options for them that are a really important part of taking them to the next level.
About 3.5 months ago I had a skiing accident. They've prescribed me with this knee brace. The foot thing is basically it allows me to walk as I would normally without an injury.
An undergraduate degree is a prerequisite to the 2-year diploma program, followed by a 2-year residency. A certification exam must be completed at the end of the residency to ensure qualification.
I like that right away we get our patient experience, and I also like that once a week we get to do rotations around the city so that we can, for instance, we shadow orthopedic surgeons, physiatrists, physiotherapists, and we get to see patients from a different perspective. So we get to see them from the physiotherapist perspective and from the surgeon perspective, which is interesting when you compare it to how we see it with our own prosthetists and orthotists.
Prosthetic and orthotic practitioners work closely with other healthcare professionals such as physiotherapists and orthopedic surgeons to promote the highest standard of patient care. The field also relies heavily on the support of technicians, who are also specially trained for the prosthetic and orthotic field.
As a technical instructor, I try to teach the complexity of the manufacturing side of our profession. I try to expose them to the vast array of materials and procedures involved. so that they can take that as a working knowledge and be comfortable applying that to their patients.
Every part of it I love. There's the personal satisfaction of actually getting to make something and fabricate something. There's the satisfaction of getting to help somebody in their lives. There's the fact that it's kind of artistic and yet at the same time very engineer-like. Just literally everything about it makes me excited to come to work every single day.
My leg lets me keep up with the other people in my class, especially in PE, and be really good in goalie. And pretty much, yeah, it helps me do most of the things that acquire moving.
The prostheses, it allows me to do anything I want to do. That, to say, I cycle, I jog sometimes, I go in for long walks. It allows me to do my work. I'm on my feet most of the day. It allows me to live.
I would say that it's a creative science and an art that goes together, and you're basically using your knowledge of materials, and you're using your knowledge of biomechanics, you're using your knowledge of physics, but also interpersonal psychology and quality of life kinds of things. You're trying to create a device for somebody that they can actually use to improve their quality of life.
In our P&O profession, the people that get into it, they genuinely care about other people, and I think that's a big plus right there. And one of the biggest misconceptions, I think people think that we just make people arms or legs or give them a brace. We just deliver a product, and to me it's just really disheartening to hear something like that, because you develop such great relationships with your patients. And I think the colleges and the universities are really preparing the students very, very well right now. And there's so much interest in research in our field. And I think it's really good that you have the chance to do a lot of research projects and things yourselves. And with that, I think the future of prosthetics and orthotics is going to be amazing. To me, it's not just doing my job, it's just getting into it. I love it. After all these years, it's just one of the best things, and I'm so happy that I picked this field over other fields.
It's exciting to be a part of this field at a time where there's so much change and so much new technologies coming out, and so it'd be exciting to see where this field is going to head in the future, and it's cool to be a part of it.
With the laughing for 10 minutes.
Once.
Oh, we're supposed to be.
Yeah, this works good. We're good.
Okay.
If you want one of these, I'll sell it to you.
What's that? As a technical.
So,
See that on camera.
the Canadian Association for Prosthetics and Orthotics is the national professional organization for the field of prosthetics and orthotics in Canada. It represents more than 500 certified and registered practitioners across Canada and internationally. Its purpose is to promote professionalism, ongoing education, and awareness to both its members and to the public, and to encourage outstanding clinical and technical skills in the field of prosthetics and orthotics.
So the next thing I want to do is reintroduce Lauren, and he can talk more about the Prosthetics and Orthotics program. Thank you, Lauren.
Thanks, Darren. Hi, everyone. Welcome tonight. Happy to share a little bit with you about our program. As Darren mentioned, my name is Lauren Schubert. I'm the program head for the Prosthetics and Orthotics program. Hopefully the video that you watched gave you a bit of an overview of the profession and what it means to be a prosthetist and an orthotist. Most of us that you talk to are pretty happy with our career choice. It's a pretty fun and exciting career. So hopefully that came across in the video as well. So I graduated myself from this video back in 2010, and I've been practicing as a certified prosthetist and involved in education ever since. As I mentioned, it's an incredibly exciting and rewarding career, and I look forward to being able to share a little bit about my profession and our program over the next short while here. So as you would have seen in the video, prosthetists and orthotists, which is a mouthful of words, design and fabricate custom orthopedic devices, and we provide lifelong treatment to people who require them. Prosthetists work with those who have experienced limb loss, and orthotists work with those who have had an injury or some pathology that requires bracing or support. And as I mentioned, it's a rewarding, ever-changing, and can at times be quite challenging as a profession. As you can also see in this picture, most of you probably know who this guy is. It is Terry Fox, who is a hero to Canadians for the impact he made related to cancer awareness. However, he's also a local hero here to those in the prosthetics and orthotics profession because of how he did it. So Terry ran across Canada using a prosthetic leg, one that was actually designed and fabricated here in Vancouver. Although quite dated technology now, our profession helped play a significant role in his life and enabled him to run all that way. We have the amazing opportunity to help patients just like Terry to achieve their goals and return to a functional life by providing them with prosthetic and orthotic treatments. So a few fun facts about our program, just some tidbits of information here. So it really is, we're a bit of a jack of all trades in what we do. Our program and our profession really requires a combination of a bunch of different things. So art and science, being creative, but also being able to figure things out. So you work with your hands a fair bit in shaping and designing devices, but also with your mind and thinking things through and being analytical, all while making a difference in somebody's life. So it's quite the combination of skills. We also have the opportunity to build a lifelong relationship with the patients that we work with. Most patients that come through our doors in a clinic setting require the treatment that they come in for the rest of their lives. So we get to build some pretty long-term and rewarding relationships with them. We get to apply our understandings of the human body, pathology, biomechanics, material sciences, and anatomy and physiology. So there's a lot that goes into what we do. And it is constantly evolving. What we do now is not the same as when Terry would have received the device, and it won't be the same in 10 more years from now. And with regular changes in technology and research over the years. So there's also a lot that goes into our program. So this is a very brief snapshot. There's a whole lot more information that I'd be happy to provide you at a later date. But essentially our program is a 2-year program. We only have one intake every 2 years, which is made up of 4 terms. So you get your summer off in between. We take 12 students every 2 years. We have, as part of our schedule, we have clinical rotations that happen on a weekly basis. Typically Tuesday mornings is our day. So every Tuesday morning, students have the opportunity to go around the Lower Mainland to a variety of either prosthetic and orthotic clinics or allied healthcare settings such as physiatry, physiotherapy clinics, occupational therapy, and a variety of other type of settings with allied healthcare clinicians or people that our patients also work with as part of the team. So it's great exposure. We also have 2 4-week placements that happen, one at the end of year 1 and the other one about halfway through year 2, where you have basically 4 weeks on the job at a clinic of your choosing, where you have an opportunity to practice the skills that you're learning in the program in a kind of Monday to Friday 9 to 5 setting. And our students usually quite enjoy that. We also have a capstone research project that kind of feathers its way through all 4 of our terms, starting out with kind of initiating the idea for what you want to do your capstone project about, and then working through a variety of research methods and collecting data up until a big capstone research presentation night where you present your findings and your results to the broad audience. And then we also have an optional co-enrollment with McMaster University. So a lot of our students will co-enroll to also take their Masters of Rehabilitation Sciences. This is not a requirement, and no preference is given to those who want to co-enroll, but it is certainly an option to all of the students who apply to our program and the students who get into our program to also take a master's program on the side as well. So as you can see, there's our lab. You can also see the same lab, just with a different student behind me there. And but for those of you who are interested in applying to our program, we're actually moving to a new building, the new Health Science Center. So it'll look similar, but with a different background, but same stuff that we're doing. So upon graduation, our students have a lot of opportunities. Once they graduate, they can't practice clinically until they've completed a 2-year paid residency. So they'll go out and find a residency site where they will do a 2-year paid residency anywhere in Canada. And then they'll challenge or write the certification exam. Our students work in either private clinic settings or in hospital settings, depending on the area that they would like to work in. They can work in small remote clinics with an independent clinician or as an independent clinician, or in a busy clinic with many colleagues, or maybe even own a clinic of your own one day. You can practice in prosthetics or orthotics or both and become dual certified. I practice solely in prosthetics and I'm very content with just one discipline, but many go on to practice in both. Resident salaries can vary between $52,000 and $55,000, and as you become certified, that can jump up to as much as $105,000, and even more so if you become a business owner. So here's a series of images that basically just kind of give you a snapshot of a day in the life, or different things that we do in our role as prosthetists and orthotists. I could probably fill about 100 slides with all the various things we do, but this is just a very, very quick overview. So our role typically starts off with assessing a patient, and that can be, like I said, in a hospital or a home or a clinic setting. And this has everything to do with kind of starting out for how we're going to provide the treatment that we want to be able to do so to help the patient. So everything from patient history to assessing their strength, range of motion, a physical assessment of their limb, finding out what the patient's goals are and what their device requirements are. So that's what's happening in this left-hand picture. Next one over, kind of middle but to the left, this gentleman is taking an impression of a patient's limb. So this can be done either with plaster or fiberglass, or even a digital device where we would digitally scan it and then be able to work on it on a computer. Then third image in there, we have a gentleman who is looking at a residual limb of a patient who's about to receive a prosthesis, and he is modifying it. So it's not quite as simple as just take the impression and then start building. We have to change that shape or alter that shape to ensure its success as a comfortable, well-fitting device that suspends well and holds on the limb and doesn't fall off, and all of those important things. So he is modifying or rectifying the device. That can be done either via plaster, as you see in the picture, or it could be done digitally on an electronic device as well. And finally, we have on the fourth picture there, we have this woman is fitting or integrating the device onto the patient, and there's a series of different evaluations we would go through to make sure that the device fits well, it's comfortable, and optimize its function. And certainly for lower limb devices, we look a lot at how the patient walks, and we can adapt how that device functions. So a lot will go into that, you know, all of the physics and biomechanics behind that. And then there's no picture to really reflect it, but after that, we have a whole bunch of ongoing treatment, because the patient doesn't just leave and have no troubles for the rest of their life. They need to keep on coming in, and either for new devices or maintenance or repairs. So we get to see them fairly frequently. And that is a wrap from me. Back to you, Darren.
Thanks, Lauren. That was excellent. Next up, we have admission with program advising, starring Maninder. So when you're ready, please take it away, Maninder.
Thanks, Darren, and thanks, Lauren. Hi, everyone. I'm going to give you an overview on the application admissions process, and then I'm going to leave you with some information about the student services that we have available at BCIT. All right, so as Lauren was mentioning, this program is offered every 2 years. So the next intake of this program is going to be September 2022. and we will begin to accept applications as of October 1st. So that's coming up not too far from now. October 1st is the first day to apply. You don't have to apply on that date or immediately after that date. You have until March 1st to submit your application. Applying early is beneficial in that if you are missing something and you weren't aware of it, admissions can inform you of that, and then you have until March 1st to fulfill whatever requirement or document that you need to submit. Keep in mind, this program has an applicant residency requirement. So currently this program is open to the residents of Western Canada, specifically the provinces of British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba. We do ask for proof of residency. So that could be, for example, a driver's license or utility bill. So admissions will require this. And I believe you have to be a resident for about 6 months or longer to be considered a resident of a specific province. So that's something you need to keep in mind. I'm sure most of you have gone to the entrance requirement page and have reviewed the entrance requirements. And you will have seen what are the required entrance requirements. So all of you, as mentioned, do need to have a bachelor's degree. In addition to that, an English 12 requirement, which most of you will meet if you have completed your education in Canada or in an English-speaking country, such as the UK, New Zealand, US, or Australia. However, if you completed your education outside of those countries, you will likely need to do a test for English. As well, you need to do an ICS evaluation, which is called International Credential Evaluation of your bachelor's degree, to verify that it is comparable to a Canadian degree. There are some other assessments we accept as well. So if you have done an assessment from WES or another organization, you just contact us and we'll let you know if that's acceptable or not. In addition to that, applicants will be required to do a Casper test, which is a test that's not a BCIT specific test. It's a test that is actually an international test that many schools accept for various health and medical programs. This is not a test that you can necessarily, you need to have any particular skill set or you need to study for. It's a moral sort of dilemma type of test where they ask you questions pertaining to specific scenarios. If you go to the Casper site, I would say at least 3 weeks prior to writing the exam, start reviewing the information they have on their website. They have an abundance of information. Their frequently asked questions section is really good. They also have sample tests as well to help you prepare for the upcoming exam. And then there's a mandatory applicant questionnaire. This is your opportunity where you can highlight some non-academics and show the department some other things that you have done that will make you a strong candidate for this program, because this is a really small program and there are many applicants. So you have to really showcase your strengths for this program. So this is where it's important to look at the preferred requirements, because the academic requirements, majority of you will have, but the preferred requirements are really the key requirements you need to focus on. So if you do not have some of these things that are listed here, these are some of the things that you can start working on in prepping your application. You have until March 1st to consider taking some post-secondary courses that maybe if you don't have science courses, you may have done an arts degree or a degree in another field and you want to maybe take some courses to strengthen your application. There's opportunity to do that, as well as to gain some experience. And if any of your courses are outdated, to refresh those courses as well. So this is a profile of a successful applicant. I've just recently come across this, this student. I'm not sure if she's a graduate, Lauren, or a current student, but she actually is a student or was a student in the program. And this particular student in our program was part of Paralympics or some kind of swimming club where she dealt with patients that had to have prosthesis. And so her first introduction to this field was because of this volunteer opportunity that she had. And so this is a great example of how you can get involved in the community and how you can learn more about this program and about this profession as well. So first point here is learn about the profession via work or volunteer experience. So she was aware of the profession by her volunteer experience. A question we quite often get is, what is the GPA requirement? Well, there's not necessarily a required GPA. We have a preferred GPA, But GPA is just one factor in the selection process. That's not the only factor. We also look at other parts. We also look to see what kind of volunteer experience and work experience that as we mentioned, that you have. As you can tell by watching the video, you're going to deal with a diverse population, anywhere from young children to elderly, to all different types of backgrounds. So having good interpersonal skills is really important for this program. And then I hope you become aware by watching the video and seeing the pictures that it kind of has an element of engineering as well in this program. So having manual dexterity is very important, the ability to visualize in 3D and being able to problem solve as well. So when the time comes to apply, October 1st, as I mentioned, applications will be open for September. You can start logging in, having a look at the BCIT online application. As I was mentioning, you have until March 1st, but you can submit your application earlier. The great thing is though, you can fill out our application at your own pace. So you don't have to open it up, fill it out and submit it right the first time that you open the application. Take your time filling out each box, uploading the documents that are required. So one of the key things to keep in mind for this program is that the Casper is required as part of the application process. Right now, the dates for Casper are not indicated because Casper introduces a new exam every application cycle. So likely in August, the dates for the Casper exam for this program will be online. So Casper will indicate, there'll be likely multiple dates, and they usually indicate the last date that will be the only one that you can write for this program. Now, Lauren, a question I was going to ask you earlier, and I don't know if you could speak to this, is snapshot required?
Yeah, actually, just going back and forth with Casper right now to set everything up for this coming intake. It looks like my hope is that we will have a series of sessions, I think 6 to 8 Casper assessment sessions, and they'll span basically the window of the application period for this program. So lots of opportunities. So check online and check the Casper site. They're just determining all of those dates right now. And snapshot will be required for our program as well.
Okay, perfect. So that's a question we often get, and it often is indicated on the Casper site if it's required. So likely it's not going to say required now. So that is something you will need to do as well. And quite often, one of the last dates for the Casper exam is after the deadline date. So don't be surprised if that's the case, but it'll still say that it's possible to do that particular exam in time for the September 2022 intake. And then the mandatory applicant questionnaire, I always tell students, treat it like an essay, in the fact that you're going to do like a first draft, a second draft, and a final draft, because that's part of the application and admissions process as well. All documents you need to submit have to be converted into PDF files, and I'll go over that in a second here. And as mentioned, you'll be applying online. It's a $90 application fee. Right, so as I was just mentioning, all your documents have to be in PDF files. So most of the documents, like the mandatory applicant questionnaire, you're going to save as a PDF. But one of the common questions we get is about your post-secondary transcript. If your school can send you an electronic official transcript, that's great. You're going to have that sent to you, save it and upload it. If they don't do that right now, you're going to have a paper copy sent to you. And then you're going to do the same thing. You're going to either scan or take a picture of it and upload it as a PDF file. If for some reason your school does not send you an official copy, or you prefer to send us an official copy, even though I've indicated it's not recommended, you're welcome to mail in an official transcript as well. I tell students the best thing to do in this case is to upload an unofficial transcript with a cover page where you've indicated that an official transcript is being sent to the school directly. And if you're a BCIT graduate, you don't need to worry about sending us official transcripts. You just need to indicate that you've completed a degree program at BCIT, and admissions will be able to access your records to verify that. Next page, slide. Thanks, Darren. Great. So we're going to move on to the student services. We like to highlight this section because we want students to be really aware that at BCIT that we are really interested in not only you succeeding academically, but also personally as well. So we applied the 8 dimensions model where we provide support in all of these areas. Some of the services that we provide support in are going to be available to you as a prospective student, and the rest will be available to you as an enrolled student. So to learn more about these services, please go to the Student Services website. I'll just mention a few that are going to be ones that you may want to consider as a prospective student. One of them is our Student Financial Aid and Awards Department. So if you have any questions about the student loan process, whether you'll qualify for a student loan, how much you will qualify for, we have advisors and customer service representatives in that department that can assist you with those questions, along with any questions regarding bursaries and awards. If you believe you'll need assistance because of a physical or non-physical disability, our Accessibility Services Department is one that you'd want to reach out to relatively early as well. And they will be able to assist you in creating a plan of how they can assist you in our program. The requirements still say the same, but they can assist you as a student while you're studying at BCIT. If you're an Indigenous student, our Indigenous department is a great place to connect with for support in entering BCIT, but also throughout your studies as well. So after today, if you have any questions regarding the application or admissions process, you can contact Program Advising. We are open throughout the year, so we're not closed in the summertime, and we have telephone advising along with email advising and Zoom appointments as well. So if you go to bcit.ca/advising, all of this information will be available for you there as well. So thank you for your time, and I'm going to move it or pass it on to Darren now. Thank you, Darren.
Thank you, Melinda. That was really, really good. I'm just going to quickly do this before we get to the question and answers. We would love for you to connect with our social media. They're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We have all kinds of excellent videos for you to watch on our YouTube channel. And of course, LinkedIn is great for any industry contacts. Under Learn More, of course, when we get past COVID, maybe the tours will be back and Spend a Day, which is a very interesting, I would love to do that actually. And of course we have a big info, which covers all of the programs at BCIT, if you're interested in that. And of course, advising for all your admission questions. And now we're going to move into the questions and answers. Okay, the first one from Sarah is, what does a typical day as a student in the program look like?
Yeah, I can take that one. Thank you, Sarah. So that's a good question. So for our students, typically our program is in our dedicated program space. So kind of like back in elementary school where all of your teachers come to your classroom and you don't really have to go anywhere else. So we have the luxury of having our own program space. And like I said, most of your program or most of your classes will be in that one space, both practical courses and labs, as well as classroom type activities. You can expect a pretty full work week or education week or class week, pretty much 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, with the exception of, like I said, Tuesday mornings will be clinical rotations, and Wednesday afternoons, all of BCIT has off. But outside of that, kind of classes the entire time. Our primary course, which is our Prosthetics and Orthotics course, spans about half of the week. So that's the primary focus, is our main Prosthetics and Orthotics, and then all of the ancillary courses or additional courses like physics and biomechanics, social sciences, communications, anatomy, physiology, all the other extra courses will span the other half of your academic week.
Thank you, Lauren. And that takes us to Sarah's second half. What is the workload like when co-enrolled for the master's program?
Yeah, so also a great question. I get this question a lot about, people, whether they're trying to decide whether they would like to do the master's program or co-enroll or not. Or maybe some people also are wondering, maybe I should wait and do my master's degree after I graduate from the program and I'm practicing in the field. So all good options. and all don't necessarily need to do the master's if you feel that's not appropriate for you as well, or a good fit for you. In terms of those students that do co-enroll, this last year was a little bit different because everyone was spending a bit more time in front of their screens already. So we had a little bit lower numbers. Only 2 of our students co-enrolled. Typically, we have about half the class co-enrolling in the McMaster Master of Rehab Sciences program. You can expect that you'll probably have at least 5 to 10 hours of work dedicated to the McMaster program. Ebbs and flows, depending on what you have required at different times during the term. But it's definitely doable. And our students find that it is easier to do while they're co-enrolled with our program compared to if they've kind of done a regular work day of 9 to 5 and then coming home and trying to do the McMaster program in the evenings. So doubling up on academics is almost entirely been the feedback from our students compared to, like I said, doing it while you're employed in the field.
Thank you, Lauren. Excellent. From Wesley, we have, I am currently a 4th-year student studying kinesiology at UBC, interested in prosthetic design. I am choosing between taking a specialized program, such as this one, and pursuing a master's degree, biomedical engineering at UBC. What are the main advantages of this program compared to a master's degree?
Yeah, that's a big question. Thank you very much for asking that one. So I think the big difference that you would find for our program and many programs at BCIT is that our program, when you graduate, most of our graduates, if not all, will go on to practice in prosthetics and orthotics clinically. So our program is specifically training you for a specific job or career as a clinical prosthetist or orthotist or both. Whereas other master's degrees, because you mentioned master's degree, ours is a postgraduate diploma, just to be clear, at this stage. But as far as comparing it to other master's degrees, it would really depend on which master's degree you're looking at and what you could expect from a job prospect or job opportunities after you graduate. So again, ours is just very specific to just the field of prosthetics and orthotics and preparing you for that exact career.
Excellent. Thanks, Lauren. Sarah is asking, any tips or advice on getting hands-on experience in the field prior to applying for the program, especially in a rural area?
Yeah, also a great question. So many good ones tonight. So we do definitely recommend that you try your best to find a way to gain some experience directly with P&O. And the reason for that is just to make sure that you know what all goes into being a prosthetist or an orthotist, so that you know that it's going to be a good fit for you. Most of us that do it absolutely love it, but it may not be for everyone. And we want to make sure that you have the opportunity to experience what a day in the life of a prosthetist or orthotist is like. So my recommendation is usually reach out to clinicians. Maybe you can do a field trip for a day if you are in a rural area, or even a phone interview, just to kind of ask some questions about, you know, what a day in the life of, what it entails to be a prosthetist or an orthotist. And as well, as much as it is really valuable to learn about what the career in prosthetics or orthotics is like, hopefully there's other opportunities to work with or gain some experience with other people with disabilities who may use a prosthetic or orthotic device, but maybe not specifically in a clinic setting. So there may be opportunities to get involved and volunteer or job shadow in non-directly clinical settings. And I think, sorry, Darren, just to jump in one more, you know, oftentimes over the past year, it's been pretty challenging because extra bodies and extra people and complication in clinical settings can be challenging with COVID. So hopefully as things are starting to ease and it's a little bit easier to maybe make that request of clinics to say, hey, can I come in and chat with you, or can I come in and job shadow for a day? And I'm hoping that over the next year, or at least up until your application window closes, that there will be opportunities for clinics to welcome you and to do some job shadowing, because I do think it's really valuable.
Okay, great, thank you. And this is from Nicole. If you apply early and later on you have new or upgraded documents, would you be able to submit them prior to the final deadline? Is that a Meninder or is that a Lauren?
I think so. It would be best in that case to wait till you have done any upgrading or volunteering you're wanting to do before the deadline date. Because if you submit an application and it's complete, it will leave admissions and go to the department for review. So you kind of get lost a little bit if you're going to upload additional documents. So I would recommend that you wait in that case to apply.
There's no benefit to applying earlier versus later. You'll be considered equally either way.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Marissa is asking how much weight is given to the grades for the courses in the preferred requirements section during the application process.
I can't give necessarily specific information on weighting and what's considered greater or lesser in terms of weighting, but it is just important for you to know that we do consider the grades overall, as Meninder mentioned, the last 30 credits or your last academic year, and your grades in the preferred courses. And really the rationale behind those two is just to ensure success in our program. We're a small program of only 12 students, and we really want to see them succeed in the courses that we have. So sometimes we'll have students who are either weak in certain courses like physics, chemistry, anatomy, physiology, and if they haven't taken those courses ahead of time or just didn't perform very well in those courses, then that can kind of set them up for not succeeding very well in those courses in our program. And because we only run our program once every 2 years or one cohort every 2 years, there's no opportunity to make up those courses along the way if you don't succeed and don't keep up with our program.
Excellent. Thank you. I see questions keep coming in and we are running close to time here, but I'll get as many as I can in. Wesley is asking, could you give a brief overview of what job prospects look like for prosthetists in the Lower Mainland?
Yeah, thanks, Wesley. That's a challenging question to answer. Because we're such a small profession, there isn't necessarily a great jobs board or classified section. Oftentimes, local clinicians like to assess our current students during clinical rotations or their placements or summer work, and it doesn't necessarily come out so easily as a clinic is looking for a resident. But I can say that all of our graduates do find work because we have the highest pool of seats for BC students. Some of our BC students sometimes choose to relocate because there's better opportunities in other provinces. And it's not necessarily permanent relocation, but sometimes they choose to do their residency in other provinces because a good opportunity comes up in another province and there may not be opportunities right away in BC. Hopefully that answers your question.
Thank you, Lauren. Nicole is asking, what is considered work/volunteer experience in the field? Like, would specific experience working in orthotics be ideal, or would experience working with people/people with disabilities in general be acceptable as well?
I think the easiest answer would be all of the above. Sounds great. I think it's important that you, like as I mentioned earlier, that you have some experience or at least get a sense as to what happens in a clinical environment. So not just working with people with disabilities, but specifically in a clinic setting, what goes on and what is the role of a prosthetist or orthotist. But additionally, it is really valuable to see your dedication and your interest in helping people with disabilities, and that is really valuable as well for your application. So either setting would be great.
Excellent, thank you. Moving along, we can get a couple more in, I hope. Wesley is asking just a general question. If I am taking the Casper exam for another program, do I need to retake it for this program?
I can take this question, and this is a great question that will probably come up through the application cycle. So Casper has 2 exams for 2 different types of program areas. So if the exam you've written one has to be in the upcoming application cycle. So it has to be after August. Any exams written before August 21 in the current application cycle cannot be used for next year. So if the exam you wrote is also the same exam that prosthetics and orthotics will be using, then yes, you actually will have to, because you can only write the Casper exam once in an application cycle. So these are questions that Casper can answer for you as well. They have a great support. I believe they do chat support, they have email, etc. as well. So you can contact them. So you can ask them, one, if the exam you wrote is the same exam prosthetics and orthotics requires, and if that's the case, then you can actually log back into your account and ask for your results for that exam to be distributed to BCIT.
Excellent, thank you. Melissa's asking, the 2-year residency sounds intimidating and reminds me of a medical doctor's residency. Is it similar in intensity?
That's a great question. I like that one. I haven't been a medical resident, so I can't say for sure, but it does seem really intimidating, you know, being a medical resident. I would say in general, typically not, unless you had a supervisor who is quite particular and yeah. So in general, no, it would not be very intimidating. I think we have some really great supportive environments and clinical settings where people are generally interested in the success of our graduates and their employees. And for the most part, the clinics who hire a resident usually are grooming them or training them to therefore continue on and work as a clinical prosthetist or orthotist, and usually it's not just a rotating role of a residency. So yeah, not intimidating.
Excellent. We do have a second part to that, and it is does the residency need to be completed outside of the community/health region in which one lives?
No,
Okay.
it can be completed under any Canadian certified prosthetist or orthotist.
Excellent. Thank you, Lauren. We did get to the end, and because we've gone over just a little bit, I think we're going to call it there. But if any of your questions were not answered, or if you have questions afterwards that you think of, we have Lauren's email address here, and he can answer your program-specific questions. And if you have more admission type questions, you can contact program_advising@bcit.ca. And Meninda or one of her colleagues will help you out. And there's also a great fact page on the program page for prosthetics and orthotics. And that'll probably answer a lot of questions if we miss those tonight. So with that, I want to thank everybody. Thank you for being here. And a reminder that my chat is in the way. Anyways, we'll be sending all the registrants the slide presentation and a link to the video once we get everything organized and uploaded to YouTube, so you can watch that later in case you missed anything or got in late. And with that, I just want to thank you all for being with us today, and we wish you all the best with your future in health sciences. So thank you once again.